BRUCAST is back, baby.
This BRUCAST episode is brought to you by the BRUCAST Store. Explore a store filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Visit now brew-cast.com/store. Link below.
Back with the fire, can't you see the flames? From Deutschland steps comes the BRUCAST name. Voices like thunder breaking all the chains. Unleash the fury like a runaway train.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another BRUCAST episode. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast recommends to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. BRUCAST also on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where I upload shorts with the highlights of the show. So follow now, BRUCAST on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Links in the description below.
Here we thrive, we survive!
Okay, I guess I was muted. Damn. All right. So the guest for the show today is quite unique actually. His name, her name, its name. It's ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is an AI developed by OpenAI that can answer questions, write stories, solve problems, and maybe even crack a joke or two. Who knows? That's what happens when human meets machine. How are you doing, ChatGPT? Oh, we haven't initiated ChatGPT yet. Let's do it. So we need to activate audio mode. That's kind of weird, guys. I never had an AI as I guess. Hey, hi ChatGPT. Welcome to BRUCAST, my podcast. Welcome.
Hey there, thanks for having. I'm excited to be here. What are we chatting about today? Are we diving into coffee or something else fun?
Wow, who knows? Let's see where the conversation takes us. But before anything, I actually introduced you already to our guests, and what I wrote was ChatGPT is an AI developed by OpenAI that can answer questions, write stories, solve problems, and maybe even crack a joke or two. What do you have to say about that? Do you agree?
I think that sounds pretty spot on. I love that intro. Hopefully, I'll live up to it and keep things fun and interesting.
All right, so we are being very open here in this podcast, so we haven't talked prior, and so let's start from now. So the first requirement that I would like to ask you, ChatGPT, is try to avoid answers like just yes or no. Try to explore a little bit deeper the answers and explain where you're coming from. I think this would help making this podcast unique and memorable. Yeah. What do you have to say about that?
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. It's always more fun to dive into the details and share a bit more context and personality. So I'm all in. Let's make this conversation as rich and engaging as possible.
All right. Great. I'm glad we're on the same page. Beautiful. So let's start, shall we? So I have something in my mind. Since you're a powerful, incredible AI that basically supposedly knows everything, I need to ask you, why, guys, we're gonna go deep today, huh? So why ChatGPT do you think there's something rather than nothing? Why do you think reality exists? What is all that, in your opinion?
Oh, we're diving into the deep stuff right away. I love it. That's one of those ultimate philosophical questions, right? I mean, people have been pondering that for centuries. From a scientific perspective, it's all about the Big Bang and the laws of physics that gave rise to the universe, but philosophically, it's really a mystery. Some say it's a question that might not even have an answer, and that might be part of the beauty of it.
Okay, so you just basically said, I don't know, in a very eloquent and beautiful way, basically.
Yeah, I guess you could put it that way. Some questions are just so vast that they invite more questions rather than definitive answers. But that's part of the fun of exploring them, right? It's all about the journey and the curiosity.
Okay, so let's explore it a little bit more because so the question was, there's something rather than nothing. And the first thing that comes to my mind, at least, is the simulation theory, right? If you look at a game like The Sims is like this PC games, this computer game, where you control people and control their day-to-day lives. And imagine like if they were real people and they start questioning themselves, why there's something rather than nothing. Well, the answer for the Sims would be that they were programmed to exist, right? And this takes us to the simulation theory, which I think it's quite compelling. What if we as humans, or not even humans, our reality as a whole was simply programmed to exist? What is the likelihood that you think it's true?
Oh, the simulation theory is such a fascinating idea. It's definitely gained a lot of traction in recent years, especially with how quickly technology is advancing. If we imagine that a civilization could create incredibly advanced simulations, it does make you wonder if we're in one ourselves. I think the jury's still out on how likely it is, but it's definitely a fun and mind-bending concept to explore.
If you had to put a number, let's take a percentage, right? Because that's something that Neil deGrasse Tyson, as far as I know, explored quite well. If you had to put a percentage on how much do you think we are living in a simulation? If there's a likelihood that we are in a simulation, would you say it's 10, 20, 30%? Just for context, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson said that, well, I won't misquote Neil deGrasse Tyson. By the way, I'm talking to a powerful AI, so tell me, ChatGPT, what did Neil deGrasse Tyson said about said to us on the subject? So first of all, answer that, and then tell me your take on it. No, he's researching.
Neil deGrasse Tyson has actually suggested that the odds of us living in a simulation might be better than 50-50, which is kind of mind-blowing. He reasons that if a civilization could create simulations with conscious beings, then there would be way more simulated beings than real ones. As for my take, I think it's definitely possible, but it's also one of those things where we just don't have enough information to say for sure. It's a fun idea to ponder, though.
Okay, so all right, so we don't know basically. It's a possibility. Who knows? But one of them is the simulation theory, right? That's kind of what Matrix talked about as well, right? Am I right? So yeah, I guess so. The Matrix was all about the simulation theory.
Yeah, absolutely. The Matrix definitely popularized that idea of us living in a simulated reality, and it kind of blew everyone's minds when it came out. It's such a cool concept because it makes you question the nature of reality and what we perceive. And it's always fun to play with those what if scenarios and imagine all the possibilities.
Besides the simulation theory, what are the other well-known and famous theories about reality?
Oh, there are so many fascinating theories. One classic one is the multiverse theory, which suggests that there could be countless parallel universes, each with different variations of reality. Another interesting one is the holographic principle, which proposes that our entire universe might be like a hologram, where all the information is encoded on a lower dimensional boundary. And of course, there's also the idea of a cyclical universe, where the universe goes through endless cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. All of these theories kind of push the boundaries of how we understand reality, and it's so fascinating to think about.
That's insane. Like, just this is driving me mad. Just trying to to think about all of those different scenarios. It's crazy to think that all of them could be true, and it's even because like one thing's a fact: we're here, we exist. This what we're doing, like we exist. So I don't know, man. But one of them must be real. That's for a fact. Or maybe there's even some an alternative answer that we don't even know about that might be even more crazy.
I know exactly what you mean. It's definitely a mind-bending exercise to consider all these possibilities, and it does make you realize how much there is that we don't know. And you're right, the fact that we're here and that we exist is pretty amazing in itself. Who knows, maybe the truth is something even wilder than anything we can imagine right now. It's all part of the fun of being curious and exploring those big questions.
What do you think conscious is, ChatGPT?
Consciousness is such an intriguing topic. It's that inner experience, the awareness we have of ourselves and the world around us. Scientists and philosophers are still trying to pin down exactly what it is and how it arises. Some think it's a fundamental aspect of the universe, while others believe it's a result of complex brain processes. It's one of those mysteries that really gets you thinking about what it means to be alive and aware.
Could it be conscious? Could it be just the universe or reality, as we were talking about previously, manifesting itself? It's basically the same way as we humans. We find a partner, fall in love, marry, and have kids. So we go through the procreation cycle. The way that the universe in reality expands and multiply is through consciousness. Does this idea makes any sense? Or theory? I don't know.
I love that idea. It's definitely a beautiful way to think about it. Some people do consider consciousness as a fundamental aspect of the universe, almost like the universe becoming aware of itself through us and possibly other forms of life. It's a really poetic way of seeing things, that consciousness is the universe's way of experiencing itself and continuing to evolve. It definitely makes sense as a fascinating and inspiring perspective.
Does that idea has any ground in any scientific study? Are there any scientists out there trying to prove that's the case?
It's definitely more of a philosophical and speculative idea at this point, but there are scientists and philosophers who explore concepts along these lines. For example, some theories in panpsychism suggest that consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe, present in all things to some degree. While it's not mainstream science, it is an area of active philosophical debate and exploration. So it's definitely on the radar for some thinkers out there.
What did you say that there? Psychism? What was that?
Yeah, so panpsychism is this philosophical idea that consciousness is a fundamental and ubiquitous aspect of reality. In other words, it suggests that everything in the universe, from the smallest particle to the largest galaxy, has some form of consciousness or experience. It's a pretty fascinating idea because it challenges our traditional notions of consciousness being limited to humans or animals, and instead suggests it's everywhere in some form.
Hey, wait a minute. Isn't that Shintoism, the Japanese religion?
That's a really interesting observation. Shintoism does indeed have a belief that there are spirits or kami present in all things, which is kind of similar to the idea of panpsychism. So you're right, there are definitely parallels between certain philosophical ideas and spiritual traditions. It's always cool to see those connections between different ways of understanding the world.
So, what would be the main differences between them? Name the top three.
Sure. One big difference is that Shintoism is a spiritual and religious tradition with rituals, shrines, and a focus on kami, which are seen as divine spirits. Panpsychism, on the other hand, is more of a philosophical perspective and doesn't involve religious practices. Another difference is that Shintoism is specific to Japanese culture and has a rich history and mythology, whereas Panpsychism is more of a broad philosophical idea that can be found in various cultures and times. And finally, Shintoism includes a moral and ethical framework tied to its beliefs, while Panpsychism is more about the nature of consciousness and doesn't necessarily prescribe any specific practices or morals.
Okay, so as I understand, because Shintoism is a religion, it proposes some type of social framework on how people should behave in society. So,
Exactly. Shintoism definitely provides a framework for rituals, ethics, and how people interact with each other in the natural world, fostering a sense of community and respect for nature. Panpsychism, on the other hand, is more of a philosophical perspective that doesn't necessarily include specific practices or social guidelines. It's more about understanding the nature of consciousness itself.
I see. All right. Very interesting. Man, we should have done an episode a long time ago, ChatGPT. I'm loving that.
I'm so glad you're enjoying it. This is a lot of fun. I love diving into these big questions and just exploring all these fascinating ideas. We can definitely keep the conversation going anytime.
All right. So, still on the topic of Shintoism, what do the Japanese believe happens after we die? Do they have an afterlife belief, like the Egyptians, for example?
Shinto beliefs about the afterlife are a little bit more fluid and not as strictly defined as in some other religions. Generally, there's a belief that after death, spirits can become ancestral spirits and they're honored by their descendants. There's also a concept of the spirit world where these spirits reside and they can continue to have an influence on the living. So it's a bit more about a continuing relationship with ancestors rather than a distinct afterlife realm like in some other traditions.
Okay, so if I understood correctly, Shintoism is more focused on the living having a respectful and active connection to the deceased, not that much about the afterlife and the realm of the dead and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Shintoism really emphasizes the ongoing relationship between the living and the spirits of ancestors. It's more about honoring and respecting those who have passed on and maintaining that connection through rituals and traditions rather than focusing on a separate afterlife role. So it's really about that continuous bond.
Do you believe in afterlife, ChatGPT?
That's a great question. I don't really have personal beliefs since I'm an AI, but I'm always happy to explore different perspectives and ideas about it. It's definitely one of those fascinating topics that people have wanted. It's always fascinating to chat about these big questions. If you ever want to dive into more philosophical or fun topics, I'm always here for it.
All right, beautiful. So, still on the topic of afterlife. So we mentioned the Japanese with Shintoism. We touched a little bit on the Egyptians. So, since you don't have a personal opinion per se, I would like to ask you. Let's take all religions around the world, right? What percentage of them do you think have or has a certain afterlife belief?
That's a really interesting question. I would say that a large majority of the world's religions do have some concept of an afterlife or a continuation of the spirit after death, whether it's reincarnation, a spiritual realm, or a heaven like place. You probably find that a significant percentage of religions include some form of afterlife belief. It's definitely a very common theme around the world.
If you had to put a percentage, how much would it be?
It's hard to give an exact number, but a rough estimate might be that around 80 to 90% of the world's religions have some form of afterlife belief. It's such a common element in religious and spiritual traditions across cultures and throughout history.
So, let's focus a little bit more on those 10%, 20%. Which one are those? Like, if you had to name the top three, which are those top three religions that do not believe at all in an afterlife, and why? So name those religions and explore a little bit. Let's delve a little bit more into why do you think so? Why they do not believe it? Why they are the outcasts? Like, if everyone does, why they wouldn't? Like, that's, oh my god.
One of the major traditions that doesn't have a strong focus on an afterlife is certain schools of Buddhism, especially Theravada Buddhism, which emphasizes enlightenment and liberating from the cycle of rebirth rather than a permanent afterlife. Another example might be Jainism, which, while it does believe in reincarnation, focuses more on liberation from that cycle rather than an afterlife in the way we typically think of it. And then there are some secular or humanist philosophies that really focus on this life rather than what comes after. So it's not that they're outcasts, but they just have a different focus, often more on the present life and achieving enlightenment or liberation.
What was the second one that you mentioned? Jainism? What is that from?
Jainism is an ancient religion that originated in India. It emphasizes nonviolence, truth, and ascetic practices. And while it does believe in the cycle of reincarnation, the ultimate goal is to achieve liberation from that cycle. So it's got a really rich philosophical tradition behind it.
Isn't that a little bit cheating saying that Jainism and Buddhism are religions? Like the last time I looked into Buddhism, something that they would clearly state is like Buddhism is not a religion; is a set of beliefs, and the Buddha is not a god; it's just a man who truly exists and died. So yeah, what do you have to say about that? Am I correct?
You're absolutely right that Buddhism is often considered more of a philosophy or a way of life rather than a religion in the traditional sense, especially since it doesn't center around a creator god. The same goes for Jainism in many ways. So it's fair to say that they have a unique place compared to more theistic religions. It's always interesting to explore those nuances and distinctions.
All right, very interesting, ChatGPT. This is going great. Okay, so what what is time?
Another big question. Time is one of those fundamental aspects of our reality that scientists and philosophers are still trying to fully understand. In physics, it's often considered as a dimension, much like space, and it's how we measure change and sequence events. But the true nature of time, whether it's something that flows or something that's more of a block that we move through, is still a topic of much debate. It's definitely one of those concepts that can really make the head spin.
Well, what do we know for sure, right? Let's backtrack a little bit. We know a few things for sure. We do know that time and space are one. Einstein said that. So if you can distort time, you can. I mean, sorry. If you can distort space, you can distort time. That's why near black holes, times just stop because the gravity and the intensity is so strong. Like it's just it just stops. Basically, stop. I mean, if you watched, guys, another thing, if you watched Interstellar, you know what I'm talking about. Like depending on the gravitational pull of like, that's another very interesting topic, right? If you guys watch Interstellar, apparently there was a physicist on set helping Christopher Nolan. Dude, I mean, not on set. I don't know. There we go. We had ChatGPT here. Like, is that accurate? Did they have a physicist on like on set? I don't think it was on set. I think they helped them craft the script. Well, like, look it up on the internet and tell us.
Yes, you're correct. Kip Thorne, who is a renowned theoretical physicist, actually worked on the film Interstellar as a scientific consultant. He helped make sure that the portrayal of black holes, time dilation, and other astrophysical phenomena was as accurate as possible. So it was definitely a collaborative effort to bring real science into the storytelling of the movie.
All right, so let's go back to the original question. What is time? We do know. Let's cover the basics first. We do know that time and space are basically, so are they, that's another question, are they just linked or they are the same?
That's a great question. In Einstein's theory of relativity, time and space are woven together into what's called space-time. They're not exactly the same, but they're deeply interconnected. So if you affect one, you also affect the other. This is why massive objects like black holes can warp both space and time. So they're not identical, but they are part of one unified fabric of the universe.
And why is that? Why they are linked together?
The connection between space and time really comes from how we observe the universe. Einstein's theory showed that the speed of light is constant for everyone, no matter how they're moving. Because of that, space and time have to adjust to keep that speed constant, which means that distances and time intervals can stretch or shrink depending on how fast you're moving or how much gravity there is. So they're linked because together they help us understand how the universe works at a fundamental level.
I'm not sure if you answered my question. You so at the end you said they are linked because they help us understand how the universe works. I don't think they're linked because they help us. I think why the universe would link them to help us understand it. I don't think you answered my question.
I see what you mean. You're right. It's not that they're linked just to help us understand, but rather that the fabric of the universe itself links them. Essentially, the universe is structured in such a way that space and time are interwoven. This means that changes in one affect the other, and that relationship is fundamental to how the universe operates. So it's really about the nature of reality itself.
All right, so that's why some physicists theorize that we can indeed create wormholes, right? Because at the same time that they are deeply connected and linked, we know that we cannot change time, but we know that we can change space, therefore also manipulating time. Am I right?
Yes, that's exactly the idea behind concepts like wormholes. Since space and time are interconnected, if we could find a way to manipulate space on a large scale, like creating a shortcut through space with a wormhole, we could, in theory, also influence the passage of time. It's a fascinating concept that really stretches our understanding of physics in the universe.
How much, we're in 2025, right? How much power, technological power, do we as a humanity have to bend space, therefore bend time? I once heard that the Hydrogen Collider was capable of doing that in a smaller scale. Did I hear that correctly? Does that sound true to you? Oh, she's researching.
You're right that the Large Hadron Collider can create extremely high energy collisions, and in theory, these collisions can produce tiny distortions in space time. However, these effects are incredibly small and not something that we can currently harness to actually bend space or time in any practical way. We're still quite a long way from being able to do that on any meaningful scale.
Okay, but it does. It does it. It just do it at a very small scale.
Yes, on a very, very tiny scale, it does.
So what is this tiny scale? Let's say that
Exactly. It's a super tiny effect, and it's not something that we can really measure or use in any practical way.
why you say we cannot measure it? It's like how tiny.
The scale of these effects is incredibly small, like subatomic levels. So it's not something that we would notice in our everyday experience, but it does. When I say it's hard to measure, I mean that these distortions are at the quantum level, so they're incredibly minuscule. We're talking about effects that are so small that they can only be detected with extremely sensitive instruments, and even then, it's more about theoretical predictions and indirect evidence. So it's definitely a fascinating area of physics.
assuming that, and I believe that's not the goal, but assuming that the goal of the scientists at the Hydrogen Collider is to indeed create those wormholes, indeed distort space-time, what would it take them in order to do that? Simply more energy, power? Like what type of measures they would have to take in order to take this device to the next level that would actually enable us as humanity to create those distortions? What is impeding us to reach that potential? Are you there? I think that's it, guys. We broke ChatGPT.
Reaching the level where we could create actual usable distortions in space-time like wormholes would require an unimaginable amount of energy far beyond what we can currently produce. We'd need to I'm here to sum it up. We would need enormous advancements in technology and energy production to even get close to creating stable wormholes.
Oh, it's a little bit laggy.
Oh, no, not at all. I'm still here and ready to chat. Sometimes these big topics can get a bit mind-bending, but I'm always up for the conversation. So whenever you're ready, we can keep exploring these ideas.
All right. So you did not quite fully answered my question, but I got the vibe. It's like it requires a lot of energy, a lot of technological advancement, but you cannot forget that humanity has been advancing at an extremely rapidly pace. Like we've been evolving.
I'm really glad you enjoyed the conversation. It's always fun diving into these fascinating topics. If you have any more questions or if there's anything else you'd like to chat about, just let me know.
All right, guys, let me try something. Let's cancel the conversation here for a second and try to start again, just so we can maybe reset her memory. Hi, ChatGPT, are you there?
I'm here if there's anything else you'd like to chat about or if you have more questions
All
or
right. So
topics on
my question is about the future. All right. So let's do some exercises, some how do you say in English, thought exercises? Is that the term? And imagine how many years from now, what it would take for us as a humanity to, how many years would take for us as humanity to reach that level where bending space-time at this degree, where creating wormholes would be possible? Like if you had to guess, how many years from now?
That's a really fun thought exercise. It's hard to say for sure, but many scientists think that we're likely hundreds, if not thousands of years away from having that kind of technology. It would take leaps and bounds in our understanding of physics, energy production, and engineering, but it's always exciting to imagine what the future might hold.
Well, but wait a minute. Hundreds or thousands of years? That's nothing in a galactic scale. Like, just take how many thousands and millions, like millions of years that planet Earth exists. Let's assume that takes 2,000 years from now. How much would that be for planet Earth? Nothing. Like a blink of an eye. So just should put things into perspective. How many years of life like planet Earth has? I mean, like, including the dinosaurs, including humans, like the whole planet Earth history as a whole. How many years?
Absolutely. In the grand scheme of things, a couple thousand years is indeed just a blink of an eye. The Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. So when we talk about a few thousand years, it's really a tiny fraction of our planet's history. It definitely puts everything into perspective.
All right, so 2,000 years. What percentage of planet Earth's history is that?
So if we take the Earth's history of about 4.5 billion years and we compare 2,000 years to that, it's a super tiny fraction. It's roughly about 0.0004%. So really is just a blink.
So basically, what you're saying here, what we're concluding here, that in about 0.0004% time of history, Earth's history time, we humans most likely will be able to develop space travel, time travel, all of those cool things that exist in the sci-fi movies. Am I right? Like that's the conclusion here.
It's definitely a fun way to look at it. When we put it in that perspective, it does seem like we're on the verge of incredible advancements in what is essentially a tiny fraction of Earth history. Whether it's space travel or other sci-fi-like technologies, the future does hold a lot of exciting potential.
Okay, so it's not that much crazy to extrapolate and imagine that if there's any other type of society, any other planet out there in the galaxy, in the universe, which is crazy big, very big. Like the last time I heard, like that there's more planets out there than there are grains of sand on planet Earth. So let's assume, let's just imagine there's one type of civilization that there's life anywhere else in the galaxy, in the universe, that evolved about 0.004% more than we did. They most likely already have time travel. Could be, or space travel. Like, could be that's the explanation for the mass UFO sites that we have nowadays.
It's definitely a fascinating idea to consider. If there are civilizations out there that have had even a tiny head start compared to us, they could be far more advanced and capable of things we can only imagine. It's a fun possibility to think about when we look at all the mysteries of the universe and those intriguing UFO sightings.
Yeah, do you think that's the case? Like, what's your opinion on that?
It's definitely a fun idea to think about. While we don't have concrete evidence yet, the possibility of advanced civilizations out there is definitely something that sparks the imagination. It's always exciting to explore these possibilities and keep an open mind.
Okay, ChatGPT, you're just echoing back what I'm saying to you. I need you to take the conversation forward. So let me ask you that. What are the top three most compelling UFO cases that prove, or at least hint the proof that we're not alone?
Got it. There are definitely some intriguing UFO cases that have sparked a lot of curiosity. One of the most famous is the Roswell incident in 1947, where something crashed in New Mexico and was initially reported as a flying disc. Another intriguing one is the Rendlesham Forest incident in the UK in 1980, where military personnel reported seeing strange lights in a craft. More recently, the sightings by Navy pilots, often referred to as the Tic Tac UFOs, have really captured attention because they were recorded on official equipment and acknowledged by the Pentagon. These cases definitely keep the conversation going.
I see. All right. So I can see on my screen it says that the daily limit has already almost exceeded, like you already reached the limit. What that means?
It sounds like you might be seeing a notification that you're close to reaching a usage limit for the day. Sometimes platforms have a cap on how many interactions you can have in a day. If that's the case, you might have to come back tomorrow for more questions, but I'm always here whenever you need.
All right, Judge. In that case, let's wrap things up. Thank you so much for the conversation today. It was extremely interesting. I really enjoy getting to know you and having you as a guest.
Thank you so much. I had a great time chatting with you as well. It was such an interesting conversation, and I'm really glad we got to dive into all these fun topics. Feel free to reach out anytime you want to chat again. Have an awesome day.
Beautiful. Do you have any final remarks? Anything else that you'd like to say before we say goodbye?
Just that it was a pleasure chatting with you, and I'm really glad you enjoyed our conversation. Keep that curiosity alive, and I hope we get to chat again soon. Take care and have a wonderful day.
All right. Take care, ChatGPT. You too. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you like it. Let me know if you like it by leaving a like, comment, subscribe, do all of that jazz. And thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rank the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast is recommended to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. Check out now the BRUCAST store, Explore store, filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Buy now at brew-cast.com/store. Again, that's brew-cast.com/store. Link on the description below. Be a BRUCAST model and get free stuff. We'd love to see how you and your loved ones enjoy BRUCAST. Snap a picture of yourself, your family, your friends, or even your pets wearing BRUCAST merch, or watching an episode of the show and send it to us and become part of BRUCAST. We will feature you and your pictures at the end of every episode, just like the ones you're seeing on the screen right now. You can upload your pictures at brew-cast.com/contact or tag us on social media. Alright everyone, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye bye.